Now, once again, Raymond Arroyo.
Welcome back to The World Over Live. The very R-rated 50 Shades of Grey opens in theaters this weekend, and it is poised to do huge business. Now, the film graphically depicts a sadomasochistic relationship between a rich, successful young man and a young, inexperienced woman. While filmmakers portray the film as a romance, some say it will popularize sexual abuse. Joining me via satellite from Grand Rapids, Michigan, are pediatrician and author Dr. MEG MEEKER and columnist and cultural commentator Marybeth Hicks. Thank you both for being here and joining us on the program. Wish it under happier circumstances. Why are otherwise sane, clear-thinking women drawn to this story? I mean, the 50 Shades of Grey have sold 100 million copies in the bookstores. Why? What is
worldwide?
What's the draw here, Dr. Meeker?
You know, Raymond, I think what it is it's the storyline. And the storyline hooks women. And this is what happens. You have a young, innocent, beautiful woman who meets a man who is a billionaire. He's extremely attractive. He's suave. He has a lot of power. But he lives in the dark side, and she lives in the light side. And the storyline leads you to believe that that this young, innocent woman who could possibly win him over from the dark side to the light side, and it hooks you. And it hooks women in a romantic way. And believe it or not, in a weird way, there's a lot of hope in the movie that maybe he'll see the light. Maybe she can get through to him. Because he says he will have relationships, but he doesn't do romance and love. So the hope is, the women reading it believe, is that perhaps she can teach this man to love and to have romance.
Right, that she can turn him around.
She can turn him around. Unfortunately, though, what happens is he drags her into the pit of hell, and that's inexcusable along the way.
Yeah, kind of.
But I think that's really why it's so popular.
Yeah, it's the romantic ideal that's pulling women in. But the challenge here, the problem, she essentially consents. She signs a contract to allow him to objectify her, use her in all manner of ways. He beats her. He humiliates her. He binds her up. I can't discuss some of the things. I mean, I flipped through the first book, which was enough for me. I don't need to see the movie. What is the impact on people 25 and under who see this movie? Because this is really glorifying sadomasochism, let's face it.
Yeah, Raymond, you know, one of the things that was, when the book first came out, I remember, you know, it was labeled mommy porn, and it created this sort of guilty pleasure. Women I knew were reading the book. In the summer, I remember going to, you know, a sports practice for one of my kids, and the moms were in the cars reading the book. And you know, I want to preface this by saying I haven't read it, and I haven't seen the movie, and I won't see the movie. You know, I think that it's all filed under avoid the near occasion of sin. You know, but I feel like it was created in a way that became enticing to women, that you could explore your sexual self, and now it was a culturally not just acceptable but kind of applauded way to have this guilty pleasure. And then especially for young women, as you've said, under 25, it's created this way to try and relate to young men who in our culture have become so consumed with pornography. And so it's been a way for women, young women, to try and understand and kind of appreciate what it is that the guys are into, and in a way that I think is just, obviously we know is very degrading, but they're being so misled into believing that this is what young men want.
Right.
And so I think it's a way for them to feel educated about what young men are into.
Dr. Meeker, talk about how destructive this is. First of all, the long-term impact of pornography, which is what this is. I mean, and it's really worse than that. It's barbarity. I mean, it's what we're really talking about. But what is the impact upon the psyche of a young woman and a young man? Because this gives guys all kinds of permission slips, culturally speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And this whole idea of the dominant and the submission, and the whole idea that a woman or a man could submit to another person, to beat them. And when you have violence associated with a sexual act, which we as Christians and Catholics believe is also associated with a deep, intimate love, it is very, very destructive and damaging. And I think that ultimately what it'll do with young women who will feel objectified, they will feel very confused, they will feel that the sexual act is dissociated from love and romance. And intuitively they know that's not true, but when they see that going on in the culture and they experiment with that, it doesn't, something inside of them goes, this isn't right. And honestly and truly, Raymond, I believe that that will put them at high risk for depression. And we know that depression in young people under 25 has risen dramatically over the past 10 years. So I'm very concerned about that. And I also want to say I'm very concerned about young men, because we think about objectifying women, but this is extremely objectifying for men as well, because they can be in the reverse role. But the idea of linking the violence with the sexual act is evil. It's just plain evil. I don't know how else to say it. And it's destructive to the human spirit. And I just want to appeal to all the Catholics who are listening out there that we should never be entertained with the things that grieve the heart of our God. We should never be, we should grieve with the things that grieve his heart. This movie will grieve his heart. Yeah, and there's material destruction associated with this. I mean, where this will lead young people is, I tremble thinking about it. Marybeth, I want to share something with you. I found it remarkable on the Grammy broadcast earlier this week. There was a 50 Shades of Grey commercial, and then this public service announcement. I want your reaction.
And together we can change our culture for the better by ending violence against women and girls. Right now, nearly 1 in 5 women in America has been a victim of rape or attempted rape. And more than 1 in 4 women has experienced some form of domestic violence. It's not okay, and it has to stop. Artists have a unique power to change minds and attitudes and get us thinking and talking about what matters.
Artists have a unique power to change minds and attitudes. Am I the only person seeing the hypocrisy here? Marybeth Hicks.
Yeah, well, first of all, he's right. Artists do have a unique power to change minds and attitudes, and unfortunately they're using it in order to normalize pornography, sexual violence, and the truly misogynistic appreciation for women. And so, but he's right, narrative works, and that's one of the reasons why this film and the books that it is based on are so scary. I mean, it really breaks my heart to imagine young women, the age of my daughters, going into the movies with boyfriends to go see this film, and that's going to be the thing this Valentine's weekend. This is the romance movie of the weekend, and it's going to be, it's such a twisted portrayal of what a love relationship is supposed to be that I just fear that we're now not sending hardly any good, solid, positive media images of a normal, healthy, loving relationship, and certainly not of a loving sexual relationship. We know that, a few years ago, Parents Television Council did a study on the way sex and marriage was portrayed in primetime television. And sex and marriage was portrayed as boring and comical, whilst all the sex outside of marriage was steamy and sexy and interesting. And so, the culture has really done a number on what it looks like to be in a normal relationship. And now this film has just taken it to a new cultural level.
There is a counter movie almost called Old Fashioned, about an old-fashioned romance, which perhaps people could protest that way. Go see that one. Dr. Meeker, isn't sadomasochism still classified as a mental disorder in the medical literature?
Well, that's a great question. I'm not sure. I haven't read the DSM lately, so I'm not really sure. Certainly, anybody walking in a reputable psychiatrist's office who is participating in this would be seen as somebody who's very disturbed. And this is historic in American culture, and I think this is historic for the media culture as well, because never before have we seen pornography in an R-rated movie that is associated with this amount of violence that is shown as normal.
Right.
And when you normalize the bizarre and you normalize the evil like this, it confuses the thinking of not only adults, but our young teenagers, and they will perceive it as just another thing to do.
I want to share.
Yes, I think.
Go ahead. I want to finish your thought, and then I want to share this study with you.
Well, any reputable psychiatrist would certainly see this as a sexual disorder, yes.
Mm-hmm. There was a study from Michigan State, and it showed that among women 18 to 24 who read the 50 Shades of Grey books now, just the books, they were 65% more likely to binge drink, 63% more likely to have 5 or more sexual partners, 25% more likely to have a partner who yelled or swore at them. What do you think the movie will produce among these same women, 18 to 24?
It is just terrifying. I was so grateful that MSU did that study and to put those numbers out there. They can't necessarily tell whether some of these behaviors come before or after having read the book, so they can't say if it's correlative or causative, but they definitely can draw a relationship between the material in the book and what it's telling young women about how to behave. And there was some other material in there about eating disorders that are associated with readers of the books. So we just know that it's just negative self-image is completely, made more positive because of the way that they read this thing and they think that the things that they're going through look attractive. And so it's really disturbing, Raymond, and it's really part and parcel of this bill of goods that's being sold to young women in this culture.
Yeah.
And it's really younger and younger. I mean, you've got Vermont teddy bears doing a 50 Shades of Grey teddy bear. You've got,
I saw that.
the Monogram company for sorority girls is having a 50 Shades of Monogram sale. It's really everywhere, and so they can't escape it. And the message is, this is what's new and hot and sexy and what you want to be about.
Right. Dr. Meeker, I ran into some people today here in D.C., and they're taking their husbands to this movie. They thought, oh, it's going to be fun. Another person I ran into said, what's the big deal? This is a consensual adult relationship depicted in the movie. Is consenting enough for this sort of behavior?
Here's the thing. I am not in a position to tell adult people what they should and shouldn't do, and, I don't have the right to do that. I will tell you, however, that if you show this kind of thing to a person under 25 where their mind is still developing and their identity is still developing, it's going to have a profoundly destructive effect on them. Because as far as having sadomasochistic sex with a child or anybody under 20 or 18 who really doesn't have the full cognitive capacity to make decisions like an adult would, I don't consider that consensual. I think they're still very confused. So, if adults want to do it, I'm not going to tell them not to do it. Personally, I think that it's going to be very, very harmful for their relationship. I would never sit there and watch that with my husband. It's just way too... It's just dark. I don't know what else to say, but certainly the effect on kids unmistakably is going to be very negative in the future, and we will see that. We will see that over the next 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, I just find it puzzling at a time when we're seeing people saying, this is a moment of female empowerment and girl power, and then we have this narrative, the most popular female narrative in the country, that is a handsome guy, wealthy guy, who's essentially a manipulative stalker, a predator who objectifies this woman, literally beats her for his own sexual gratification, I guess.
Right. Exactly. Very disturbed. Very disturbed.
Why are people embracing this, though? This is what I find so bizarre. Why are women?
I know. I have the answer, Raymond. It's the devil. Satan always makes things that are evil look attractive, seem interesting, seem enticing. That's the whole point. And we've seen over the course of a generation now how pervasive the evil power of pornography has been, predominantly on men, but now on women as well. And now we can see what's happening is to bring women along toward that path, you have to make it seem appealing to women. And what would make pornography and violent sex and submission and degraded situations appeal to women? Make them seem romantic. That would be the whole point. So Satan is not stupid. He never has been. And we know that this is why it's attractive, because evil is made attractive by Satan in order to make it work, in order to ensnare people.
And the idea that this is empowering to women is so hypocritical and ironic, because it enslaves women. It literally ties women up and binds them up, and that's what you see in Anastasia Steele, who's the object of Christian Gray's whatever. I can't say love or romance or whatever, whatever she's the object of. Yeah.
No,
so she literally is bound up. So this is in no way empowering to women. If anything, it enslaves them.
Final quick mention here. A lot of Catholic bishops are coming out against the film. Laverty in Arlington, Bishop Schnurr in Cincinnati. They've called it a direct assault on Christian marriage, humiliating to the dignity of women. How should women particularly engage this issue with their friends? Very briefly, ladies, I'll give you each a quick chance. Seconds.
Yeah, I would encourage most women to, all women to do what I did, which was to really, when I had friends who were reading the book, I didn't shy away. I didn't want to be politically correct. I just literally said, that is garbage and I can't believe you're reading it. And, call me judgy. It was what it was. But,
Meg?
Really, I think at this point, if you can't speak out.
Yeah. I try to engage women and talk. I understand why they think it's so attractive, because I think it's laced with enough hope that this woman can bring this disturbed man over to the light side. But I say, but that's not enough to allow yourself to be exposed to this trash. Really.
Thank you both
and
very
for
much.
A mother to allow her.
I'm all out of time. I could go another hour with you both, but thank you both. Marybeth Hicks, Dr. Meg Meeker. Thanks for being here, and hopefully some people have listened and will listen to your wise words.